Welcome to the PC and Mac Show. Connor Sutton, Carlton McAllister here. The boys are back on duty. And, today we're going to talk a little bit about the Simpson University 2014-2015 basketball season. Carlton, we're going to go ahead and start with the women's team, a team that went 4-25 this year, 1-9 in conference play. Really struggled most of this year. And what did you see from this team most of this year?
Well, I can tell you right now, Connor, it was mostly just them being young. They were a very inexperienced team. The only returner that they had that had any impact the year before was Esther Wofford, who started earlier in the year, in the beginning of the year last year. 2 years ago, and then came off the bench just to help their points off the bench later on. So just not really a lot of leadership. And not really a lot of – it was just – they were all just young.
Yeah, just not a whole lot of seniority. And Esther Wofford, you're just talking about Defensive Player of the Year this year in the Calpac Conference. For a team that just went 1-9, pretty impressive. She averaged just two and a half steals a game, which led the Calpac. Got a lot of denial steals. Did a nice job. Derek Pringle, head coach of the women's team, said that she was not a very good defensive player, and I think now he can kind of keep his mouth shut a little bit because winning Defensive Player of the Year is a pretty good accomplishment. She's also an All-American in the NCCAA. So a good year for her, 15 points per game during the year. One of the top rebounders as well as a guard. She's really just a good all-around player and only a sophomore. So she's got 2 more years ahead of her, and really we're looking forward to watching her grow even more as a player.
Yeah, she was definitely at the top in contenders of people the running for the MVP in the league. And yeah, she's not very fast, but she plays the passing lane so well, and she just got so many steals off of that. And I think that they're going to be a lot better defensively next year just from her leadership because she's going to be a junior. She's going to be leading the team. She's going to be one of the returning starters next year, and she's going to be looking for teammates that are going to play defense, and she's going to push them hard next year.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think not only is she's not going to have to take so much of the load offensively. We saw her take 20 shots a game, a lot of games because Yeah, because a lot of her teammates just weren't able to get the shots up. She can create her own shot, which isn't very usual in women's basketball, but she does a good job creating her own shot. She can get to the rim. She can shoot the long ball. She can do a lot of things that coaches like to see. She was the top assist player for Simpson. But another player that we could talk about is freshman Fallon Greeno, actually from a local from around here. Played very well. She was freshman of the year in the NCCAA, 10 points a game. Very good. We saw her take over for stints of games. We saw her score 16 straight.
Numerous times.
Yeah.
Yes. Numerous times.
A good take. She's got a good left and right hand finishing. Injured for part of the year with a dislocated shoulder, that left shoulder.
Yeah, and played injured with it also too.
Yeah.
She is, and the thing that I love about her is she is so aggressive. She is not afraid to take it inside, go up against 2 or 3 people, and she's very lengthy. So she does a great job of keeping the ball away from defenders, lowering her shoulder, and then getting the ball up. And she's not afraid to shoot the ball either. That's something that Coach Pringle was telling her to do more often is shoot the ball because players know that she's going to drive. They know that she's a driving threat. And so, yeah, he encouraged her, shoot the ball when you're open.
Yeah, she also led the team in three-point percentage, but she only shot 35 threes this year, 16 and 35 at 45%. But I think Derek Pringle wants her to continue to be aggressive with that three-point shot. She's also very, very tough at going to the rim, like you said. A little bit of that bulldog mentality. Wants to get the ball inside. And I think those are the two players that, looking forward to Simpson's future, are going to be the two keys. Both of those players have a lot of upside to their games and really can help this team get back on the right track. 4-25, obviously Derek Pringle's worst year as a head coach. So he's got a couple new signings, new players next year, trying to just kind of almost put a whole new team together and to get back to their winning ways.
Yes, and now that he has a definite leader in Esther Wofford. I think he's not going to have any problem doing that next year. He's going to have a great season. They did lose a couple of key players, bigs, Katie Linick, Rihanna Gallardo, and also they lost
Danielle Stewart.
So yeah, three of their bigs, and he did get some of that hype back in Jessica Curls. And so, yeah, he's just looking right now just to establish an identity, I'm sure. Establish an identity next year, and I'm sure it's going to start with defense.
Well, this team did go 1-9 in conference, but many of the games that they lost, they were actually pretty close. They played La Sierra at La Sierra and lost to them by just a few points, and I was there at that game, thought it was the worst officiated game I'd ever seen. Almost 27 fouls in the first half. It was unbelievable. And that really hurt them. A lot of players got in foul trouble, and they had a tough time playing when they had third-string players in and staying. It just was a rough game to watch. But this team really they need to start getting back to the ways of getting the ball inside and working inside out. I think a lot of times this year they settled for threes, which Derek says that he likes to do. But when a team is not shooting the long ball that well, that's not something you want to do. You need to get the ball inside, and then when they start collapsing inside, then you go back out.
Yes, and another player that they had this year who plays really good with their back to the basket is Brooke Blaisdell. She suffered in the beginning with a lot of foul trouble in the beginning of the year, and then later on picked it up and was actually starting to play a lot more games. And so her and Jessica Curls together, they could be a great combo next year because they are both physical players and can put the ball in the basket when they are on a roll.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think it'll be real exciting to see. She's going to be a junior next year, so you have Esther Wofford, a junior, Brooke Blaisdell, a junior, and also Jessica Curley, you talked about, a 6'3", who didn't get to play this year, wasn't eligible, transferred from William Jessup after the first semester. But it'll be interesting to see how well this team comes together with a couple new signings that Derek Pringle's put together, and hopefully this team can be solid next year.
Yeah, those are three key players right there. Two of them that started, Brooke and Esther, and then putting Jessica Curls right there in the middle with them. Those are three star players. You can play inside, you can play outside. Esther can work off of them. That is going to be an exciting team to watch next year.
You're absolutely right. Well, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to actually talk about the men's basketball season, that a little bit more of a brighter side there. You were listening to the PC and Max Show. Hey, Red Hawk fans. This is Connor Sutton here for College Nights Chevron. Whenever I travel to away games, I make sure to fill up at the best gas station in Reading, College Nights Chevron. So make sure when you need to gas up, you get the best quality gasoline off the corner of College View Drive and Old Oregon Trail. It's time you start doing things the Chevron way. When you need to quench your thirst, what better way to do so than by drinking some Gatorade? Hi, everyone. Connor Sutton and Garrett Thompson here to talk to you about the greatest sports drink in the world.
When you need some energy and electrolytes, what better way to do so by sending some Gatorade down the chute? No pun intended.
Endless favorites so you can choose your favorite. Make sure the next time you're thirsty, hook yourself up with some Gatorade.
Is it in you?
Welcome back to the PC and Max Show. Connor Sutton and Carlton McAllister here. We just talked about a little bit of the Simpson University women's basketball team and a little recap of how their year went. Now, Carlton, let's talk about the men's basketball team, a little bit more exciting team to talk about. Went 8-2 in conference play, 19-17 overall. Ended up going to the NCCAA Nationals. They had 5 seniors in the starting lineup. All those players were big impacts for this year, and this team was a veteran team this year and one of the best teams that Simpson's had in a real long time.
Real long time, yes. They got close the year before with the team that they had, but and all of them were returning starters this year. Came back with the same team and put together again another marvelous season. So close once again to winning that tournament, just to not get to finish.
Yeah, well, he's talking about the CalPAC tournament where Simpson lost in back-to-back years to Cal State Maritime. And Brian Rooney, the coach of Maritime, a very well-coached team. Jim Holcomb, actually the coach for Simpson University, won Coach of the Year, did a nice job of putting this team together. 8-2 in conference play, took this team to NCCA Nationals. 19-17 overall, as I said earlier, and that's one of the first time in 8 years that Simpson has been over 500. A tough thing for a team to do as a D2 NAIA team. But really, you could count that because of the seniors they had in this team. Dalton Thacker won player of the conference in the CalPAC, averaged 15 points a game, and really was the best all-around player on this team.
Yes, he was really good, phenomenal. Really good to see him get that award. He's been here all 4 years on varsity and has really shown out every year. Finally put together one of his greatest years. Also got, I'm pretty sure it was either third or fourth in all time in scoring here at Simpson in the current era. So yeah, he put together a marvelous season. Him and this team put together a real marvelous season.
That's right. Also, you could also Anthony Williams, one of the locals here from Reading. He won Defensive Player of the Year, and he was unbelievable to watch. We talked about this a lot during the season. Marcus Kirkland, Shaquille Jones, Anthony Williams, all three of those are so athletic, and when they play defense at the same time, like they were on the floor at the same time, and they get steals and get out on the fast break, they were unbelievable.
They are amazingly fast, those guys. Every single time there is a fast break, you can expect to see Anthony Williams and Shaquille Jones on the other side of the court already. I mean, a lot of these fast breaks, this is where they got most of their points, a lot of games, and we're blowing teams out. Every single time, you're going to see Anthony Williams down there ready to make a dunk, a flashy layup, a dish, or anything to one of his teammates. They are extremely quick on defense.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 4 players in double figures on this team. He had Anthony Williams, Ian Corella, the big man down low, and I believe he was an underrated defensive player. Altered a lot of shots at 6'6". Got quite a few blocked shots as the year went on. Very good with his back to the basket, soft finisher around the rim, and he was a big reason for their success this year.
Yes, he is a key player in them even getting so far to the CalPAC tournament, and he was the leading scorer in the CalPAC tournament championship game. He had 20 points all the way up into the second half of the game, and then Anthony Williams started taking over. But he is an amazing player around the basket, and yeah, as you said, he was a very underrated defensive player. In the championship game alone, he had 3 or 4 blocks in the first half. He did an amazing job this year and all of his years here at Simpson University.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that championship game against Cal Maritime. On the road, they just played them the Saturday before that, so they played Pacific Union in the semifinal game, then they played Maritime. That game actually went to overtime, and what happened in regulation, Simpson, it was a really close game, the first half and the second half. Simpson got down by around 5 with about 2 minutes to go, clawed their way back, and then Anthony Williams hit a huge 3 to tie in late.
He hit a couple huge threes. I think he had hit 2 or 3 in a row, and even hit another one, but the coach had called a timeout. He was on fire.
Yeah, he was lighting it up, and so he tied the game, and then it gave Maritime a chance to win it at the other end, but they did not get that bucket, so then they went to overtime, and then Maritime really took over from there, and you could see Brian Rooney making changes with his team. Simpson was in a little bit of foul trouble, so they struggled there, but like you said, Ian Corella led the way with 22 points, played phenomenal. Williams had 19. Those guys really propelled Simpson to staying in this game for as long as they did. Thacker did not play all that well.
Yeah, that was probably one of his worst games. He went 3 for 13. He did really well from the line until the end also. He was 7 for 7 and then missed the last 3. That was key. They also missed Sam Saller got fouled shooting a 3, missed those 3 also. And then Anthony Williams fouled out too, so they just started falling apart in that overtime.
Yeah, and I talked about it a little bit during the game. Shaquille Jones, who had a phenomenal game against Pacific Union a few nights before, was coming out with a lot of confidence, but he turned the ball over 6 times and was 2 of 11 from the floor. Simpson only shot 31% from the field, and that really hurt them as well.
Yeah.
So when you shoot 31%, you can't be expecting to win, especially when Maritime shot 44%. So, I mean, really those are the difference. And it was just the fact that Maritime was just getting better shots that game. And that's some things, when Simpson was winning games, they were getting good shots. They were playing as a team. But when they were losing, their biggest downfall was they were playing too individual, too much isolation, and it really hurt them a lot of games.
Yeah, the problem is that they all can do that, though. They can all get their own shot whenever they want. Ian Corella was one of the biggest was one of the biggest big men in their conference, so he could get his shot off whenever he wanted. Shaquille Jones was one of the best scorers, along with Dalton Thacker, and Johnny was a straight shooter. Anthony Williams can get to the basket whenever he wants. They all could score whenever they want, so that was mostly the problem. But when they played together was when they were really on fire.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, that's going to close it here for the PC and Mac Show. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful day.